Lore Friendly episode 88 is what you're listening to? I don't know.
You can dub over it if we haven't got it right, and then it'll just be like, we've got it right entirely the first time round.
Exactly.
Perfect.
It's what I always do, but you know me.
Yeah, we never actually have the conversation that goes out
No.
on the podcast. You just edit everything that you say. You could edit it so that I'm reacting to the most awful things, but I place so much trust in you, Kris, not to do that.
It's kind of like how I did the dialogue for Fallout 4. I have all your lines sort of cataloged and searchable in a document database, and so whenever I need an Alice reaction, if I need a happy one, if I need a sad one, or just need something excited, I could just search that database and boom, it's there.
And just put it in. Yes. And it could be reacting to anything. Yes. Who knows?
Yes. Sometimes I'll even take some of the voice acted lines you did and, just throw them in there. It's just
for shits and gigs.
Seamless. Yes. But yes, this weekend, Game of Thrones Battle of Winterfell finally happened.
Big episode.
Yes.
The first of our feature-length episodes.
Yes. There's a lot to go over because a lot happened.
Yes.
It was an hour and a half long, right?
It was an hour 20 long.
Okay.
And whilst a lot happened, I don't know if there's that much to talk about.
Well, let's start with the beginning, the opening sequence where we have the sort of calm before the storm, and then we have all our soldiers lined up, and then out of the darkness comes Melisandre. I forgot all about Melisandre.
Yeah. Well, you know what? I love a good tracking shot.
Yes.
It is something that I am a sucker for because tracking shots take so much effort and coordination. If you fuck up, you've got to start the whole sequence again.
Oh, yeah.
It's why I love OK Go music videos and things like that.
There were several of them in this episode, right? From what I remember. But yes, we do get Melisandre's appearance, and she lights up the swords. And
first things first. Arcs. Not swords.
Arcs.
The traditional weapon of the Dothraki. Or is it Arca? They've had him since season 1.
And these were very traditional Dothraki, Ghost included. He's an honorary Dothraki now, in case you didn't notice. But lighting up the arcs, and then we get this breathtaking scene where they charge ahead into the night, into the darkness, and one by one their lights go out. And I think this kind of sets the tone for the entire episode for me because
you can't see anything.
Yes, it was both incredibly awesome, incredibly dark, and also profoundly stupid. And that basically encapsulates the entire episode for me. What did you think of just the battle tactics, I guess, in general?
Shit.
Because granted, I've only played Total War once, and after the first battle, I kind of just simulated the rest of the battles because I was lazy.
Yeah.
But I don't think sending your cavalry ahead unsupported is the brightest idea.
It sounds like something that I do in Civilization. You know?
Yeah.
Or what's a more plot-based one? The Lord of the Rings, Battle for Middle-earth. I used to love that game. And it'd do different scenarios. So one day, yes, you were defending your castle and your keep. And when Melisandre came in and lit up all the swords, I was like, oh, she's giving them an inspiration boost. They're going to be great.
Civ has different names for it, but maybe they just basically play on easy mode and they assume that, hey, I could just send my cavalry ahead and just, conquer this.
Steamroller them.
Yes. Conquer all the armies with just my horses and leave everybody else back in my base. I mean, they put the siege weapons in front of the infantry. That was another thing.
The tactics are just so bad.
They put the trench behind everyone. So, forgive me. Again, I'm not a battle tactician. Neither of us are military tacticians.
I sent you an article, though, that was basically a roundtable discussion between 3 different military tactics experts, either historical or otherwise, and they were just like, they've got to have a pretty decent battle plan for it to go right. And the tactics that they were discussing that they should be implementing did not appear in the episode.
No. When you have a castle, right, and you have a lot of castles in traditional sort of fantasy, they have a moat or whatever, right? to surround the area. So people have to get past the moat. They get past the moat, then they have to penetrate the walls. They penetrate the walls, then they, eventually they get inside, and then,
Yeah, that was a very traditional method of defending your castle. So your keep either has to be on top of a hill or surrounded by some sort of artificial landscape feature, which makes it more difficult. So, like, Nottingham Castle is right on the very edge of a sandstone cliff.
Right. And the Vale is kind of like that way, too. They use their environment to kind of protect themselves. And I guess, like, you have this trench set up that is supposed to be a barrier, that is supposed to be a wall that sort of protects you in addition to your actual walls, but you put that behind your forces, it kind of doesn't really serve a purpose. And then you have to retreat.
Yeah, how are they going to get in?
It was weird. It was bizarre. But I guess the whole vanquishing or extinguishing of the Aurochs gives an explanation for it, because this was such a cool scene. It was such a breathtaking moment that it kind of makes sense what they were going for. They cared more about the atmosphere than they did
than making the characters look intelligent.
Yes, because they look fucking stupid.
It was a fantastic scene.
Yes.
But think about how the Dothraki could have been used better. I am really annoyed that they basically used... Well, this is like the entirety of the Dothraki now, isn't it?
Yes.
Because they all met up at Faye's Dothrak, and then she managed to win them over through destroying their religious institution. And it feels really awful that they just use them as cannon fodder.
Exactly.
You know?
They used them entirely for that scene. They had that scene in mind where they wanted the lights to go out one by one. They wanted to convey how mysterious and dark and sort of unknowing that the threat was, and how powerful the threat was. And they did it, but they did so in a way that really... the Dothraki didn't have to go out like that, more or less. They did a disservice to them.
I feel like it could have had the same effect with just like a different tactic. So like, let the whites come closer because they're coming closer anyway. Yeah. And then like pince around on them, so have the Dothraki kind of attack them from the sides. Mm-hmm. Like, I feel like that would have been more intelligent tactics-wise, and it would have had the same result.
Exactly.
Also, Ghost ran into that fray.
yes.
And we didn't see him again for the rest of the episode.
He's not John's direwolf anymore. He's a Dothraki screamer now. That's just the way it is. Just ran.
Right. So, I have periodically written on my notes for the episode, where is Ghost? Where is Ghost? Where is Ghost? Where is Ghost?
Maybe next week he'll be a member of the Unsullied. I don't know. He's just going to show up randomly in cameos. That's how it's going to work.
Yeah.
Speaking of atmosphere, the lighting has been a big issue that people have been talking about. It was to the point where I had to turn the brightness up on my screen because I could not see what's going on. Yeah. And I was getting eye strain. It kind of reminds me of those lighting mods that they're there for atmosphere. You get why they make them.
Yeah.
They're there for immersion, but playing with them, like, I can't see anything.
It's painful, yeah. But this is an issue that Game of Thrones has been getting progressively worse at. So, like, what was the first nighttime battle that we had? Battle of Blackwater. Mm-hmm. Yes, it was dark, but there was enough lighting within the scene so that we could see what was going on. And then there was just every scene that took place from like season 5 onwards that was vaguely in the north, where things were very dark. You couldn't necessarily pick out everything, and it's kind of culminated in a battle where you don't see anything. Like, Game of Thrones has been getting heavier and heavier with like its colour grading.
Yeah.
And how much overlay and effects that it puts on a shot. And it's culminated to the point where they've turned all the brightness down and they've put a blue filter on it. That's what it feels like. And having low brightness and a blue filter just makes everything darker.
Yes. Because I have a blue filter too on my monitor.
And this is made worse when all of your characters are wearing black. Like, if the characters were dressed even in grey.
Yes.
Or something like that, or in some form of colour, you would be able to see things more easily, like down in the crypts. when they're in the shadows. We'll get to it later. But I couldn't tell what was happening between Sansa and Tyrion. Because it was that dark, and Sansa was wearing all black, and Tyrion was wearing all black. And it's like, it shouldn't... I can understand atmosphere, but I don't understand atmosphere when I can't see what's going on.
Yes. Imagine how atmospheric episode 5 is going to be this season when it's just a black screen. It's just going to have audio. No, thankfully, the next war, which we'll get to eventually, will probably be brighter, but who knows?
Well, there is Cersei wearing colour in the next trailer, so that's something.
I'm excited.
Hopefully Sansa will wear colour as well.
Yeah, that'll definitely help with their lighting issues. Although, shout out to Melisandre, you definitely made this episode easier to watch by lighting it up.
Yeah. Going back to Melisandre's entrance and things.
Okay.
When she said to Davos, "Don't worry, you don't have to execute me. I'm going to be dead soon anyway."
Yes.
And they had that really meaningful shot towards Arya.
Mm-hmm.
I thought, ooh, hang on, is Arya going to kill her for revenge because Melisandre is on the list? Or because of Gendry bringing it up last week, I thought, ooh, maybe Gendry.
They did mention that.
Maybe Davos. So that felt like something that had been set up.
Yes. All the ties between Melisandre and Arya, they run deep. What else happened? Dollar's Ed?
Mm-hmm. In that opening, we had Ed saving Sam one last time.
Well, Sam's plot armor is pretty thick. I mean, sometimes it involves other characters' deaths, but I mean, jumping ahead a little bit, toward the end where he has all these like fucking whites crawling all over him and he's just stabbing them and somehow he's not dying. They should have just made the walls of Winterfell out of the plot armor that they were wearing, more or less. It was very thick.
Yeah, and it would have never been penetrated.
They should just have Sam's stand at the gate, and he could just. They should have had him.
Like, no.
Had him teach the Unsullied how to fight, because clearly.
No, I've got baby Sam. Oh, plot armor.
The Grey Worm's like teaching him a stance. He's like, no, you need to curl up in the fetal position. Maybe just like lie on your back and go cry a bit. Start kicking and screaming like a baby, and you'll be fine. Winterfell saved. Grey Worm though did have some great scenes. I really liked that close up of his face.
Yeah.
The zoom ins were just like really poignant, I think, for him.
And he was probably hands down one of the smartest people in the episode. Because he figured out, oh, people are firing arrows at the trench and it's not working. Oh, I've just seen a witch light things up. Right, let's defend the witch and get things lit up. Yeah. And it was clever. And let's face it, the Unsullied have not necessarily shone for their battle prowess.
No.
Since Daenerys freed them. But this showed where their advantage was in their discipline. Hold a wall, don't break it. And just for that one little moment where Melisandre was walking out protected by the Unsullied and that beautiful coordination, and she was able to get there and lit it, that highlighted the Unsullied's discipline.
Exactly. And when they did get the trench lit, they kind of stalled the armies for a second, which would have been an excellent time to start using your siege units. Unfortunately, they were in front of the trench. And the dragons, too. They could have used the dragons more.
Yeah. You know what I feel like tactically they needed? Oil.
Yes.
Hot oil. And I was watching this and I was just like, if you are defending a castle, this isn't just for like the army of the dead. This is just for your fucking generic army. Boiling oil is a fantastic way to stop people.
Oh, yeah. Not just whites. People in general.
And it's boiling.
Yes.
So yes, they don't feel pain, but it's going to burn them to a crisp.
Yes. It would have been ideal, I think, to utilize stuff like that instead of just standing there with your sword on top of the battlement waiting for them to climb up. But we also had, for whatever reason, Daenerys and Jon, they were flying out and just randomly spraying fire. I mean, I thought maybe if they were perched on the walls and just like, I don't know. Well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but...
Well, I thought that was the impression that we're meant to get, that it was a bit nonsensical. Because from what I understood, they were meant to be waiting until the right moment to swoop in.
Yeah.
And they didn't. Daenerys went off when she saw that the Dothraki had all been murdered. It's like, well, Well done for showing some emotions towards your cannon fodder.
Yes. Why weren't they there from the beginning to just lay waste to the
Start
waves
blasting
of the dead?
shit.
Yeah.
But yes,
What?
the snowstorm.
Yes. We did get the appearance of the Night King, so the theory was incorrect. He was at Winterfell, surprise, surprise. And we did get some, again, just visually stunning scenes where, the two dragons engaged the Night King and they would fight. And there was that one scene where two of them went up above the clouds and you get that moonlit shot. So I liked a lot of the visuals.
That which was one of the best shots of the episode. Yeah. Because that's when the low lighting worked, because it was silhouetted against the moonlight.
Yes, it was very...
It was a wallpaper shot.
Yes, it was beautiful, for lack of a better word. So then Dragon Rhaegal bites Viserion.
Yeah.
Name? And the Night King falls off his dragon.
Just in the nick of time, yeah.
Yes. And then Dany descends on him. And then you get that scene where she goes Dracarys and just lights him ablaze. And then the flame clears. And it's classic like fucking anime shot where, you bombard a guy and then all the smoke clears and he's still standing.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
And it's not going to be explained why that worked.
It's
not going to be explained. That's what I actually wrote that down. Night King's a secret Targaryen.
So maybe that flesh art that he was making was like a Targaryen sigil or something. I don't know.
I don't know, mate.
He does have a crown on his head. He is a king.
This is the thing. It's because of how abruptly this plot thread has ended. There's so much that we're not going to learn.
Yes.
Like, what is his actual motivation?
And this goes to the broader sense of who the Night King is that we don't know anything about him.
Yeah, we know that he was created by the children of the forest.
Yes.
But that's about it. We don't know how the baby White Walkers grew up. Like, I really wanted to see a White Walker coming with, like, that baby, like, Craster's baby, like, toddling along, holding his hand. I really wanted to see that, and I'm really disappointed that we didn't get to see that. And we're not going to find out what all the fucking art is.
Yes.
What does it mean? What?
It's up to the viewer's interpretation. He's like any artist. He doesn't have to explain it. He lets you explain it for him.
Yeah, but you can't big up and build up this massive existential threat.
Yes.
And then just leave it unexplained. It's very dramatically unsatisfying.
Yeah, he's problematic in a lot of ways. And I think part of the problem from the beginning is that he's not a character in the book. So you don't have that sort of information to rely on. Whereas other characters, you have this sort of encyclopedia of knowledge that's, written down.
Can be drawn on.
Yeah, exactly. And so his character from the beginning and to the end, which we'll talk about later, is just problematic in that way, because he's a character that we don't know if George even ever conceived and if he even belongs, in the plot. But he's immune to fire, that much we know. And when Dany fails to kill him, she has to fly off because obviously the Night King, what we do know is he's an excellent javelin thrower. This has been established. This has been seeded that he is an Olympic javelin thrower. And so she escapes, leaving Jon as the one who, can possibly kill him because they're alone together on the battlefield. And that's when you get that great scene of him lifting up his arms and all the dead zombies rise. And he just walks off, leaving Jon alone.
To deal with it.
Yeah, and kind of treating him like he's an insignificant nobody, which I thought was fun because Jon is supposed to be the hero. He's the classic hero, and so it's kind of subverting the trope again.
Just like looking at him like, I know you. You're Ned Stark's bastard.
It does kind of remind me of the Battle of the Bastards a bit, where Jon is just kind of doing stupid hero shit, and it's not working. But he is eventually saved by his plot armor, despite there being like hundreds of whites around him. And the same is true for the people inside the wall, because they get bum rushed by a wave of dead. And overall, it's very hard to reconcile the fact that the dead are so overwhelming and yet can't kill these same 7 people. But they did manage to kill one Lyanna Mormont, which I thought was a very good scene in terms of fan service. This little girl taking down a giant.
Yeah, I can't see Lyanna Mormont in the books doing it. But, I don't know, I enjoyed Lyanna, but at the same time, she was a bit anachronistic for the setting.
Yeah. She was initially intended to be a one-scene character, but I think just the fan support and fan love of this little badass. I mean, again, she was kind of one-dimensional in a way, but it's just fan service, more or less. I really didn't see it as anything further than that, but it was fun fan service.
And it was a good way for her to go out.
Yeah. The size differential between them, was
it was David and the Goliath, wasn't it?
Yes. And we also had Arya showing off her ninja skills and then sending Sansa underground. And that's where we get like the crypt scenes, where also very sort of ominous, where they're just sitting there trapped in this crypt and hearing the noises overhead, right? What did you think of that whole bit?
The content of the scene, I enjoyed the atmosphere, but it would have been the perfect opportunity to show Sansa's leadership skills in a different sphere to the military sphere. It would have been the perfect place to have a callback to the Battle of Blackwater, where she boosted morale and she kept everyone feeling comfortable. Instead, she walks in ominously, looks at people, and everyone starts panicking.
And she did the opposite, because Tyrion was trying to, like, be all like motivating and sort of rallying, but she's kind of like, she was being depressing. She was almost like dampening people's spirits.
Which is like, no, this is why her people like Sansa.
Yes.
Is because she has a different method of leadership that's more practical minded than military minded.
Mm-hmm.
And keeping people's spirits up is a very important role.
Yes.
And I hate how everyone is sucking Tyrion's dick. You were the best of them. Yeah, well, it's not exactly a high bar, and well done on Tyrion for laughing at that. But it was like they were trying to seed some sort of romantic plot between them.
I mean, they were kind of like putting the idea in each other's heads and kind of playing it out, right? She was like, oh, it would never work. But to say that it would never work is to kind of imply that
you want it to work.
Yes, exactly.
And yeah, I know she's had some shit gentlemen in the past. But
yeah, saying that you're better than Ramsay Bolton isn't exactly a compliment.
Yeah, and saying that you're better than Cersei Lannister, definitely not a compliment. And I feel like, yes, she appreciates his kindness in King's Landing, but at the same time, he was willing to go along with marrying a child.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if this is books or not, but or if this is one thing overlapping with the other. But in either the books or the show, Tyrion is offered the choice by saying, oh, well, I'll marry it. Tywin says, oh, I can marry her off to one other Lannister cousin, but you wanted a wife. This is what you wanted, a beautiful highborn girl. And so Tyrion accepts it. And he went along with the forced marriage of a child.
No.
Which, yes, he didn't rape her on the wedding night. Well done. But that's a very low bar,
yes,
you know?
Do you want a medal for that? For not being a rapist.
So I don't think they should be putting any romantic seeds in there.
Yeah, it is a bit awkward because of how they came together. They did try to kind of give them an emotional moment. Like, it started out by saying, oh, it wouldn't work, but when they were hiding behind the tomb, or the coffin, it was definitely had that kind of like romantic kind of emotional vibe.
I thought Sansa was going to jump out and defend him and sacrifice herself for him, and I was like, don't you fucking dare. No.
They did kind of do a little Chekhov's gun thing when Arya gave her a weapon and, stick him with the pointy end, that kind of thing.
It didn't pay off.
No, it didn't.
Yeah, but that was the bit where they were crouched behind the crypt.
Yes.
That was the scene where I couldn't see what they were doing with their hands. It was only when I turned up the brightness all the way up that I saw that, oh, she gave him her hand, he kissed her hand. I didn't see that.
Oh, is that what happened?
It was so dark.
It was basically, for me, it was like a Rorschach thing. It was just 2 ink blots just wobbling in front of my screen. But yes, it was definitely too dark. Oh, we should mention that the theory of the zombie Starks coming to life came true. No zombie Sean Bean, though.
I think everyone saw it coming.
Yeah. Do we have Lyanna Stark's tomb opened up so now we could like find things like Rhaegar's harp or other trinkets in there? I mean, was she one of the zombies?
I don't know, but I saw a zombie that on my rewatch that did look like Maester Luwin.
Oh, did you?
Guess he's an honorary Stark now.
Oh, they buried him down there, yeah.
No,
yeah.
it was like bald guy with the slight ring of hair, and he was clothed in robes, so I'm assuming it was meant to be a little nod to Maester Luwin.
Oh. Did they bury the Maester with their chains or no? 'Cause
I
did he have
don't
his
know.
chains?
But he shouldn't have been buried with the Starks anyway.
But again, we don't need to follow logic here. It's just...
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm sounding very negative for this episode. I'm so sorry, but...
Just remember Sam's fighting stance, and then everything else is just downhill from there. In a world where that works, like all rules are off. All bets are off, more or
Yeah.
less. The other scene that happened, I believe, right before that is tying these 3 characters together who met in the previous episode. Beric, the Hound, and Arya. I mean, they had that one scene at the top of the ramparts where Arya didn't want to spend the night, talking to them. She went downstairs. But that's kind of poignant in retrospect, given that the 3 are so closely knitted together in this
Connected,
episode.
yeah. And I enjoyed this episode from Arya's perspective because, yeah, she started off being, cool, badass, emotionless Arya, and then she realised, oh shit, she's an assassin. She's not a fucking middle of the army warrior.
No.
She's a stealth class.
Exactly. She did a Metal Gear scene thing where she threw like a rock or threw a book,
Yeah.
I guess it was, yeah.
And we
And
saw
everyone
her
was like,
scared. We have not seen her scared in seasons. So it was nice to
Yes.
have 2 Stark children emoting in one episode.
Yes,
You know?
because it feels human as opposed to robotic
Yeah.
brand style. It's just she was scared. She was
Vulnerable.
she was vulnerable. Right? Yeah, and she wasn't like killing everything because that's kind of what I assumed. Because Arya's been this way through the last few seasons, that when she was in that library or wherever it was, that she would just start killing everybody there,
Yeah.
like because that's what she does. But instead, she hid and she was showing that emotion.
Did you ever play Last of Us?
Yes, I have.
So I know you said Metal Gear Solid, but I got major Last of Us vibes from that sneaking through the library scene.
Yeah, well, zombie games in general, you can usually throw an item.
It was more the hiding and listening and echolocating.
Oh, yeah.
That was what it reminded me of more. Just like it was like the same screen effect, pretty much.
And they acted like zombies too. They all just
Yeah.
like, oh, sound, and then they they all
yeah,
just
that
like
was-
hurry over there.
It was a fun scene to break up the tension a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but it was very Last of Us. In fact, this whole episode was like a prolonged episode of The Walking Dead, but with dragons.
Yeah. And there was a scene before that also where we got the Hound living that trauma of the fire again.
Yeah.
But then when Beric points to Arya and convinces him, okay, she's still fighting, so
Yeah.
and he decides he wants to save her, and so then we get the 3 sort of united.
Running through the very narrow corridors of Winterfell.
Yeah, and Beric, I guess, in a very like Christ-like pose, kind
Yeah.
of, is Hodor Part 2, Electric Boogaloo. In
Hold
that
the
he's-
door!
Yes. He's holding the door.
Beric the door!
Yeah. We're going
I
to call
couldn't
him
think of a
Bodor.
Yes.
Bodor from now on. So
Yes.
Bodor blocks the door and essentially sacrifices himself for Arya, fulfilling his purpose, which,
Means that he can finally die.
yes. And then Melisandre, of course, in classic D&D fashion, spells it out for us after we
Yeah.
just watched it. But yes.
And Melisandre also gives a motivational speech.
Ah, yes. To Arya.
Because it's the first time that her and Arya spoke. And she's like, yeah, so brown eyes, green eyes, and blue eyes.
Yes.
Yeah?
It's actually mirrors the speech that she gave to Arya the first time they met when
Yeah.
she took Gendry away. She says the same thing, only she says brown eyes, blue eyes, green eyes in that speech.
Yeah, or grey eyes. I think grey eyes is in that speech.
Because I think, doesn't Cersei have green eyes?
Yeah. But I refuse to believe that Arya's going to kill Cersei.
Yeah, and in this episode, the order was different, right? It was
Yeah.
brown eyes, green eyes, then blue eyes, and then,
To emphasize it.
yeah, and then sort of the thought worm kind of creeps into Arya's head, and she's like, "Oh yes, I have a job
And then
to
with
do."
a little motivation, kicking all the way back to season 1, what do we say to the God of Death?
Not today.
Yep, and that's when it clicked. So Arya vanishes off. And
Yes.
I believe that is everything covered until we enter the final stage.
Where the Night King enters the Godswood.
So Theon is fantastic.
Yes.
Alfie Allen is one of the strongest actors on the show.
Yes.
Like, he is fabulous, he's got a great trauma face, and he's very good at communicating what he's feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And he has more than completed his redemption arc. He completed it ages back, as far as I'm aware. But he's been constantly trying to make amends. And he defends Bran admirably.
Yes.
With his bows and his arrows. Although, did Ramsay remove his fingers? Or crush his fingers or something?
I don't recall. It seems like something Ramsay would do, though.
Yeah.
Very Ramsay-ish.
Because I thought in one medium or the other, like, some of Theon's fingers were removed. And you kind of need fingers for archery.
Yes, you kind of do.
Because Theon was known as being, like, one of the best shots in the north, if not in Westeros. And so that was a way for Ramsay to, like, get down on his pride.
No.
Was to take away his ability
make
to
sense.
do a decent shot. But anyway, he defends Bran incredibly. He runs out of arrows, because of course you do. And so he takes up the spear and he keeps on defending, whilst Bran is just checked out at this point. He literally said, "I'm going to go now."
Yes.
Which is the best line of the episode. I'm going to go now.
Yeah.
Fuck all you. I'm going to go watch Endgame.
Yes. That's essentially what he did. His crows just kind of flew off and God
Went
knows
to the local
where.
cinema.
Yes.
So he just checked out, and Theon was just like, what the fuck? Why? What was he doing with those ravens?
I don't know. Again, it didn't make any sense, like, logically, but it served a specific device, I guess,
Yeah.
for the viewer, in that we got to see the Night King on his dragon. That was the whole point of it.
Yeah.
Like, you could tell why he did it, and it had nothing to do with the world in question. It had everything to do with the people watching the show.
Yeah.
Again, it's like the Dothraki thing with the Aurochs. It's the same thing. They're putting the visual, yes, in front of what makes sense or what makes logical sense.
But yeah, I would love to know what he was thinking when he was like, I'm just going to check out for a bit. See you later.
Yeah.
Peace.
Can you blame him? Endgame, It's just
Yeah.
I think I saw one of those
Box office
birds.
records.
Yes. Yes. They needed that crow money, It's just that raven money. You could fit way more birds into a theater.
But yeah, eventually, when all of the dead have been re-risen, we also get to see some wonderful shots of Lyanna rising up, and Ed.
Yes.
And are we assuming that Beric rose up as well?
I think so. I think he was one of them. It was very dramatic because I think the battle was at a point where our plot-armored heroes felt like,
They were getting somewhere.
yeah, that they could survive, but then all of a sudden, all the people they killed, all the warriors that were vanquished, all just rise up, and then it's like, oh fuck, what are we gonna do? And then Sam goes, just get on your backs and start jabbing, and and then
I don't think Beric did rise, or at least we didn't get a shot of it.
Oh, that's right.
He's
I'm
probably
not
so
sure.
burnt out from having the Lord of Light inside of him for the last 7 years or so.
It is kind of a cheat mode for the Night King to be able to raise all the dead, but at the same time, to be fair, R'hllor is doing the same thing with his plot armored NPCs. So I'm not sure which is more powerful.
Yeah, but he can't do mass resurrect. That's like a 10th level
that's
spell.
right. Yeah, it is.
R'hllor's only on like 8.
But R'hllor can resurrect the high level NPCs, right? So it's a bit different. Those NPCs with the essential tag or the protected tag, where you can beat them down, but they just
And they're knocked out for a bit and then they wake up.
yeah, and it's like fuck. So I mean, even though R'hllor has less, I guess, magicka, the NPCs on his side are they're all flagged essential, so it's not even fair. So, but the Night King.
Do you think Rohalor gave Melisandre a bit of a power up while she was away? Because I've always been under the impression that yes, she can do magical things and channel things magically, but a lot of her shtick is the illusion of power. You know. So do you think Rohalor was like, right, shit, world's ending. You're on Westeros. Here you go, power boost.
It could be that, or it could be that she never really tapped into the power.
Yeah.
Because it would cost her life. Maybe I don't know. Maybe
that's
like,
what I
so
was thinking
draining.
Actually, because she was able to sleep without the necklace on before.
Yeah. So it is explicable, I guess, why she was able to do these things. Plus, she was never in a position where she needed to like demonstrate that much power, right? I just appreciate her for lighting up the episodes. So.
Yeah, so we could actually see things.
Yes, on occasion, until it got all extinguished. But so we have the Night King
strolling on in, and Theon had the most emotional death.
Yes,
for sure.
They started doing everything in slow motion. They like the music started getting all dramatic, and you knew it was building up. So
it tracks over to Brienne and Jaime, and they're all literally backs to the wall. You've got Sam crying in a corner.
Again, good strategy.
Jorah getting stabbed. Oh shit, yeah, we forgot about that. So when did we say about Dany swooping down and saving Jon, and then Drogon running off because he was getting attacked by drones?
Oh yeah, it's like if you had like thousands of like ants crawling all over you, even though it's just not a feeling you want to experience. So I can get why he bailed.
Yeah. And then Jorah runs over and saves her, and they're having their last stand, and Jorah gets stabbed in slow motion, and Daenerys is actually emoting, which is nice.
She even picks up a sword for the first time too.
And I'm glad that they didn't have her be super skillful with it. She was clumsy with it. It was heavy. So thank you.
Yes, and there was even a scene where I think Jorah, I don't know, turned and like took a stab wound right in the heart for her or something. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Yeah.
I think I read something on Twitter. It says R.I.P. Jorah. He died as he lived in the friend zone.
And then we go over to Jon as well, and Jon's just running desperately through Winterfell, and he sees Rhaegal. Yeah, and his path is blocked by Viserion, sorry, and Viserion's just fucking shit up.
Yeah.
And so he's just like, I can't do it. And then in a scene out of Harry Potter, he goes, hump, like when he's fighting the dragon, and he just goes and he screams at the dragon because, of course you do.
It's such a Jon thing to do.
Yeah,
it's such a. I mean, the smart thing would be to continue to take cover and try to survive, but the heroic protagonist thing to do is to
yell at a dragon.
Yes, to face your enemy, man to dragon. And
do you think he thought it was the Dragonborn?
Maybe.
I bet you that is going to get dubbed over very quickly.
That's true. Somebody get on that. Fusroda that shit.
It's gonna be it's a dead meme now, but we do have something appropriate for it.
Yes.
Do you think he was disappointed when he realised that just because he's from the north, he's not a Nord?
No, or the Dragonborn.
I don't have the. I mean, he was born of a dragon, technically.
Yeah.
With Rhaegar, but
if he was a true Nord, he probably would take better care of Ghost instead of just leaving him out there and just run on his own, because that's not what a good Nord does.
I wanted to see Ghost on top of Rhaegar.
Yeah,
that was what I wanted.
I just
Dragon Dog.
I just wanted, if other than Dragon Dog, obviously, but I just wanted some kind of emotional reunion between the two. Just give us something.
Just somebody pet the dog. Pet the good boy.
Yes. I don't get it.
It's almost like the Stark children aren't connected to their wolves.
No. Maybe it's on purpose, because there is this whole thing about Jon having to choose between the Starks and Targaryens. He's clearly choosing the Targaryens up to this point,
but dogs are cooler.
Yeah. Dogs can be pet.
And he's raised Ghost from being a puppy.
Yes. He just met Dany like last week.
Yeah. Dogs are for life, not just for Christmas.
No, exactly. Is that a real phrase?
Yeah. Because basically, puppy dog sales and pet sales go up right before Christmas because people buy them from their kids, and then the kids don't look after them.
Oh, Fucking bastard kids.
Yeah. But yes, so the finale of the episode.
Yes.
So the Night King has sauntered in. He's murdered Theon. Theon has a very prolonged death, but he has it after having been forgiven by Bran, who has told him, "You were a good man."
Yes.
Theon's like, right, well, shit, die. Guess I have to.
His story is complete.
And the Night King is very slowly sauntering towards Bran.
Yes.
He's staring his mortal enemy right in the face. He goes out. He goes to take his sword. And then Arya breaks stealth by screaming. And where did Arya come from?
She used the teleporter that they used earlier in the last season.
It was just
that's
like...
my explanation.
Yeah, because looking around, yes, there's trees in the Godswood, but she would have had to have had a very, very strong jump.
I think it's possible she put on Walder's face again, and Walder Frey's face looks almost like a White Walker. You know, same kind of hair, balding at the top, you know?
And just sneaked on through.
Yeah. It's like, hold on, I need to see this, you know, just Walder Frey coming through.
But yeah, so she jumps, she's going to stab him, and because she broke stealth by being an idiot, he turns around and he grabs her by the neck.
Yes.
And it looks like it's all over. We've already seen one person crushed to death this episode.
Yes.
But she drops her knife into her other hand and stabs him. And then everybody's dead. All the bad guys are dead.
Yeah, and the war's over.
Which, as much as I thought it was a fucking badass move.
Yes.
The fact that they've ended the White Walker plot before they ended the Battle for the Throne plot.
Yeah.
It shows that the showrunners had different priorities to Martin. Because Martin wrote the book being like, oh, look at all these idiots concerned about a stupid fucking throne when we have a real issue.
Yeah.
It's like an analogue for real world politics and shit like that.
Yeah.
Whereas the TV show's like, oh, mystical things, can't be bothered. Right, let's get back to the politics.
I mean, in a way, I guess it's fitting that the show ends with humans fighting, but like to your point, it definitely feels weird that, I mean, it goes against what the spirit of the show was, which is people squabbling when this ominous real threat is here. Going back to the Night King getting killed and his entire army getting killed in one hit. I mean, we've made fun from the start of this episode of the tactics of the humans, but I've got to say, the Night King is just the stupidest motherfucker.
No, he should have gone down to King's Landing as we wanted.
I mean, if his death causes the death of his entire army, should he not be at home in fucking bubble wrap?
Yeah.
If I'm a White Walker and my life is dependent on this dude staying safe.
You're defending him with your life.
No, there is no way I'm letting this guy out of his room. He's in bubble wrap. He's in a steel cage with walls 10 feet thick because... I mean, granted, you got to bring the cage with you so he can raise the dead, because he's the only one who could do it, right?
No, I don't know. Other White Walkers can do it as well.
Oh, they can?
Yeah.
Even more reason for him to stay home. I mean, it is the stupidest thing for him to expose himself at any point. It's basically the only vulnerability your entire force has. The other thing that was weird about this scene was you mentioned how Bran and the Night King are mortal enemies, but it didn't really feel that way.
I think it's more what Bran represents.
Yeah.
Than...
But that was never seeded, right? We never got this sort of explanation of their long-standing feud, you know?
Yeah.
It was just we were told they were mortal enemies, but it didn't feel like they were mortal enemies. You know, not like if Sandor and Gregor Clegane...
Clegane Bowl.
Yeah, if the Clegane Bowl happened, it would feel dramatic because
it's been seeded since season 1.
Yeah, exactly. And this didn't feel all that dramatic. And so, I mean, I just have problems with the Night King's stupidity in general, but that whole scene kind of felt...
It felt like it ended too quickly.
Yeah.
It should have had them escaping, and they'd move further down north, further down south, and further down south, and so eventually Cersei would have to deal with the threat.
Yeah, it's just...
They seeded the Iron Isles as being a safe place. Because there are secret tunnels all through Winterfell that people could have escaped from.
Yeah, and tactically, it just makes no sense for him to be
No.
walking up there. It's like playing chess, and then after you capture your opponent's queen, you just send your king straight forward to the other side and walk right into a checkmate.
And it's like, the moment was amazing. The moment was fantastic.
Yeah.
But the effects of that moment feels very unearned.
Yeah.
I feel like it's ended the arc far too quickly. If
What
that
do you
makes
think
sense.
about what do you think about the choice of having Arya killing the Night King? Because that was something that they planted 3 years ago, or more or less. They said
that they decided that Arya would be the one 3 years ago.
and they did have Bran give the dagger that was used by Littlefinger to try and kill Bran. They had Bran give it to Arya in the Godswood at the same spot. So it was definitely something that was orchestrated throughout.
Yeah.
But it's also something that I'm sure George didn't have any input on because Night King didn't exist, right?
No. I feel like, if nothing else, this episode has reassured me that the two series are going to end completely differently. And I like that, so now I don't feel like I'm spoiling the books for myself.
Yeah. But wasn't there like an ending that George sort of gave to D&D in advance? Like who sits on the Iron Throne and all that?
I think, yeah, maybe whoever sits on the Iron Throne is going to be the same, but he's not going to push aside this main conflict that he's been building up for years and years and years to settle with the petty squabbles of who's on the Iron Throne. It's going to be done in a different order. It's going to be different people involved. Like, which character is the thing? I was thinking of a character earlier who's just not around in the books anymore, but they're in the TV show. I can't remember who it is now, or the other way around.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it has reassured me that I'm not spoiling myself by watching the TV show.
Yeah, because when George set out to write the books, the prophecy thing was the big sort of through line for everything, right? The prophecy mattered, that the prince that was promised to fight off this, the threat of the others.
Born amongst salt and smoke.
Yeah, light and dark. All of that is just the backbone of the entire series. But with the TV show, that's already settled now.
Yeah.
I mean, the forces of the living have won, and now it's just another war between two living factions. So I definitely agree on that point. I'm not sure that George knows the answer, though, in terms of how he wanted it to end. I think maybe he
might not have had it when he had that meeting with Benioff and Weiss.
Yeah. Like, we know that the others are going to die, or we know that the living is going to win because that's just how stories work. Good guys win, bad guys lose. But yeah, I don't know if he plotted it out that far either. So maybe that's why D&D took liberties to kind of do what they wanted, because there was no sort of point in the plot where it happened necessarily, right? So it just didn't exist yet. But it'll be interesting because of the way the TV show ends, or is looking to end, how he goes about writing the last chapters of his book.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
We will see. But that does bring us to the end of the episode.
Yes.
So, who was the body count? I don't think I made a list.
Ed.
So, wait, hang on, let me scroll up. So, Ed died. Bodor died.
Yes.
As did Jorah, who I don't believe was on our death list.
No, I'm not sure though.
Fake.
Gotta scroll up.
Fake Shireen is alive.
Yay, fake Shireen.
As I saw by a very quick glance. Gilly didn't die, who I thought would die. Nobody in the crypts die, actually.
Did either of the dragons
No,
die?
because looking at the preview for next week's episode, we see Ghost and we see the two dragons.
I was very unclear on that because I wasn't sure if the dragon at the end was Rhaegal or Viserion. It was very confusing.
I was very
they all
confused.
Look alike.
It's like Rhaegal just vanished for the last half of the battle. He was just like, peace out, fuck off.
Yeah.
As did Ghost.
Yes, Ghost too. Well, how can you blame him? Is like fucking Jon has been mistreating him this whole time.
Abused dog, poor
Barely
puppa.
talking to him.
Poor sad puppa.
He went out to go hang out with Nymeria in the forest and live happily ever after. That's the ending I want.
Yeah.
Ghost and Nymeria. sitting on the Iron Throne.
Yes.
Or is that also incest?
Well, they don't have to be, like, doing it.
No, that's true. Although it is HBO.
But the death count for this episode, yes, there was a high body count, but the actual death toll for characters was incredibly small. To say that this was meant to be one of the big climactic battles of the series, I thought we were going to lose at least 3 main characters. I mean, we did use 2 characters from season 1.
Yeah.
But I thought we would have lost a couple more.
Yeah, we lost a lot of characters. I wouldn't necessarily call them main characters.
Tertiary and secondary.
Yeah. Liana, Melisandre, and Dolores Ed. Yeah, there definitely was...
Not the big players.
Yeah. Jorah is probably the only one of significance.
Jorah and Theon.
Died. Oh, right, Theon. How could I forget Theon? Yes. But we already assumed he was going to die, so it was kind of like an obvious thing. It would have been surprising if he didn't die. It's like, where do we go from here? I mean, he's already redeemed himself. Is he going to do it again? I mean, it's emotional the first time, not the 4th or 5th time,
So, yeah, it wasn't as high a death count as I was expecting. I was expecting to lose either Brienne or Grey Worm.
Grey Worm living was surprising.
Yeah.
I thought for sure that...
That was a misleading 2 days from retirement.
Yes. Very misleading. The others, it wasn't as surprising.
Brienne.
I kind of figured Bran. Yeah, Brienne would die. I kind of figured Bran would die too, also, in a weird way.
Or walk into something or other.
Yes.
And live out as an actual raven.
Yes. He would be much happier that way. Less talking. More caw.
Yes, did you see almost a flicker of emotion?
Oh, when he was talking to Theon?
Yeah. Did you see something resembling emotion?
It kind of felt that way. He was especially telling him what a good person he was. That's not something that the three-eyed raven would be concerned about, I think. A raven would just be thinking, about pecking Theon's eyes out. But Bran definitely was kind of, giving him peace before death.
Yeah.
Because if you think about the timeline, he didn't need to say that, right? He didn't need to say you're a good man. He would have sacrificed himself anyway, and timeline is preserved. Because the three-eyed raven thinks in those terms.
Yeah.
Timeline. And he did say that kind of thing before, where like, don't worry about all the horrible shit you did. Timeline is preserved. Yeah. That's all that matters.
I fixed everything. I'm Doctor Strange.
Yes.
But with less emotion.
Yes. And by less, you mean 0. But then he turned it up to like 3 or something, maybe, on the level of emotion. And he said something nice to Theon. But again, I'm not sure if that was in character so much as it was the showrunners trying to give Theon a good send-off, right?
Yeah. Yeah, I think we did have a very good send-off.
Yes. It was very emotional.
So that was the one that got me most. Jorah? Nah. I have a thing against people who are just like, oh, but he's so in love with Dany, and he's like, no, respect her boundaries.
Yeah. He's
but Theon was
definitely
a favorite.
You have a problem with creepers, is what you're saying. Jorah is definitely kind of a creeper.
Oh, so
especially
creepy.
He's like an old man creepy.
You know what? As a girl, I've known plenty of people like that in my life.
It's not fun.
No, not fun. But yes, I think that takes us to the end.
Yes. What do you think about the next episode preview? Any thoughts on it?
I want there to be a secret, extra big bad White Walker. And there's no elephants in the preview.
Yes, no elephants.
I wanted elephants.
Do you want the Night King to resurrect himself somehow? Everybody come back for the end.
Yeah. Just like as soon as Dany's about to sit on the throne, suddenly... Wow, I'm alive again, bitches.
At this point, nothing surprises me, but yeah. I think one of the common sentiments online is that people are mad that after this Titanic battle, that now a lot of the main characters are going to die at the hands of Euron fucking Greyjoy.
Yeah. Who's a shit character, let's face it.
Euron Greyjoy wearing his leather jacket. It's going to be the worst. Not only is he killing your favorite characters, he's doing it while wearing an anachronistic piece of leather. It's not cool on multiple fronts.
He's not a cool guy, man. He's not a cool guy.
The worst part is he tries to be.
How dare he? But yeah, if any of the main characters die from Euron Greyjoy, that's just upsetting. That's more upsetting than them actually dying. It's the fact that they've died from him.
Yeah. Literally insult to injury.
And I've just seen my favourite tweet, sorry. Don't need to blow the CGI budget of the Army of the Dead if it's too dark to see them. Accurate.
There was that one overhead shot where we were supposed to see like the fucking swaths of dead like charging over the front line, but all I saw was just a black screen.
But yeah, it was... Oof.
So yeah.
But yeah, so catch us next week when we discuss episode 4. And I'm going to call it The Calm Before the Dawn. I don't know. I think that should have been the episode title for episode 2.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, Calm Before the Dawn, because it's like the battle before dawn. The battle for dawn.
True.
I'm just so clever.
And episode 3 should have been called Pitch Black.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. So that's it for this episode. And next week.
Catch us next week.
Hello.
Hello.
Hey, what is up?
Not too much. How are you?
I'm alright. I'm the same as always.
You know, I'm just chilling.
Change. Yeah.
Just chilling like a villain.
Definitely like a villain. That is how I roll. It's no good guy stuff.
You are the Night King.
No, please don't insult me by calling me the Night King. He is a fucking moron.
Such an idiot.
Yes.